Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul
They're gonna run out of cheeseheads soon!
The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now, about now.
What is poppin', y'all? It's your man, Cloud Boy Bales, and welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports Weekly, where today's episode, we are going to predict what I think will happen in this year's postseason for Major League Baseball. What an interesting season it has been. A new pitch clock, wider bases, playing every single team now every season. I feel like baseball has changed it a little bit, but it's different. And you know what? I can't believe it, you know? I feel like they should just I don't know why they added another wild card game, you know? I just feel like it should be literally, I feel like it should just be, a full wild card where it's 8 teams making it on each side. I feel like that would be more competitive, be more fun. I'd love to see that. That's legit what I would want to see. But here we are, we just have 12 teams total making the playoffs. And I feel like, a lot of teams didn't make it. I mean, literally, we have a lot of new faces in this season. And that's very shocking to actually see. First time, the Cardinals, the Yankees, and the Boston Red Sox all have made the playoffs at different times, consecutive 30 years. All three have not made it this year. Weird, huh? But yet again, what a weird season it has been. So I'm obviously going to go over each game and where I think will happen and who I believe the World Series champs will be. So if you like what you see, comment below, subscribe with your thoughts. Let's get down to business. I'm going to start with the AL first. First off, we have the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Minnesota Twins. Twins won the division. Their terrible division, the AL Central, was the weakest division in all of sports. Their division was so bad, it was that's why they walked away with it. Anybody came through with it, that division just needs improvement. And the Blue Jays, they're in one of the toughest divisions. They literally have to face the Yankees, the Orioles, the Red Sox, and the Rays. That is a tough division to be in. And despite everything, you know what? I honestly completely keep forgetting about Toronto's existence. They don't ever get spotlight ever. However, they have such a strong lineup. Obviously, Alek Manoah was the big problem. He struggled all season this season. Kevin Gausman played great this season. I feel it should be Toronto winning this. I mean, Minnesota is a very young team. And don't get me wrong, they have a bright future. I just don't think they are strong enough to make a postseason run. I say Toronto wins that one right there. Next up, Texas Rangers versus the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rangers are one of the teams that, honestly, I thought was going to walk away with the division. And then somehow Houston just won it. Out of nowhere. But that's what happened. Texas is a really good team. They literally traded for a haul in this offseason. And, it paid off. I mean, yes, they lost DeGrom for the year, but it paid off because they got Scherzer, they got Montgomery. They have a really good starting pitching unit, that's for sure. And the Tampa Bay Rays also, they are one of those teams that just started the season out great. And then, they managed to have one of the best records still, but it wasn't enough for the Orioles. Now, I'll get to them later. Looking at these two teams, I just think I think Texas has fallen off a little bit. Tampa Bay has fallen off a little bit, but I feel like Tampa Bay always chokes in the playoffs. It's been that way every single season, and I feel like I'm going to take Texas. I want Texas to win this one. Definitely. Then we obviously have the Blue Jays versus the Houston Astros, who were the last year's champs. I think last year's champs, even though I don't find them as good as they were in the previous years, they still have playoff experience over the Blue Jays, who just seemingly don't know how to compete in the playoffs. They're lucky they had the Twins overall, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Houston. Houston will move on to the ALCS for the almost consecutive year that they've been there. Like, they've been there like every year. And then we got the Rangers taking on the Orioles. Man, this Orioles team is just so impressive. They're so young. They are going to be a team to reckon with for years to come. And nothing but excitement. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of excitement there. Texas, I feel like they are strong enough, but I don't believe they are too strong enough to beat the Orioles. Texas has kind of gone down a little bit, and the Orioles just know how to win games. That's really what I think, and it's crazy how I see it. I say the Orioles definitely will win that series and take on the Houston Astros. Houston and Baltimore. Two teams, one team that's been there for a long time and one team that's new to this but still has high expectations. And you know what? Believe it or not, I think the Orioles are going to beat Houston. I think Houston just hasn't been that good. They haven't dominated. This hasn't been a dominant season. I think like the Orioles have dominated this entire season, and they are the team to watch out for. I think the Orioles definitely will make the World Series this year. Let's go on to the NL. First, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on my Milwaukee Brewers. I think this is going to be a huge, low-scoring matchup. Pitching matchups is definitely what it is, but you got Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta for the Brewers. And the Arizona Diamondbacks have Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. It's going to be some interesting matchups for sure. Obviously, the Diamondbacks have the better hitting overall, but I feel like the Brewers obviously have at least a little more experience than the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have not made the postseason. There's only a couple guys on that team I think that were part of the postseason, but they're veterans. I don't know if it's enough. I don't think it will be enough. I think the Brewers will win against the Diamondbacks just out of them making the playoffs a lot more in the past couple of seasons. Next up, we have the Miami Marlins taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Philly made it all the way to the World Series last year, but for some reason, Philly just doesn't impress me. They don't have the wow factor that I saw from the previous year. Miami doesn't really have that same effect, but you want to know something? This team made their first postseason in like forever. And they have guys that actually have playoff experience, like Soler, for example. That guy, gave Atlanta a World Series when they traded for him. Literally Miami, I think Miami will beat Philly. I think Miami was playing so good in this last month. I think they will go in and they will beat Philly. I think they will do it. So then they'll face Atlanta. So we got the Brewers taking on the Dodgers and Miami taking on Atlanta. And obviously, I feel as a Brewers fan, I gotta be the obvious one and say they're not beating the Dodgers. The Dodgers dominated them this season, and even though the Brewers have looked a lot better in this last month ever since they got swept by Dodgers in LA, I just don't think it's going to be enough. I know the Dodgers just have the better players. They have the better hitters. And there's just no way I can't see, even though the Brewers look a lot better, I just don't think it's enough to beat LA. I'll say LA will go on to the NLCS. Then we got the Atlanta Braves taking on the Miami Marlins. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Atlanta does not do well against Miami. And actually, we saw this a lot this season. Atlanta can play some offense, but their defense is what is the only concern. Their pitching may be real good, but they haven't been really good in the last recency. And I feel like that could be a huge struggle in the postseason. And because of that, I think the Marlins will actually beat the Braves. I know everyone hypes the Braves up, but I think the Marlins are actually going to upset them. So then we got the Dodgers and the Marlins. And to be real, I think the Marlins will just get through the Braves out of luck. They're not going to beat the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers will go to the World Series. I feel like that's what we see. That's what I'll know. So our World Series matchup will be the Baltimore Orioles versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. And our champions that I think will win the whole World Series this year is the Baltimore Orioles. And why do I think that? Because LA's starting rotation is pretty much gone. It's Clayton Kershaw, some rookie standout named Bobby Miller. And obviously it was Julio Urias, but of course there's all this stuff going on about him getting arrested. Gonsolin just can't stay healthy. They don't have anybody. They can get through because of their people that are on their starting lineup, and LA's had like one of the best records going into the postseason, but they're going to get through the Marlins because the Marlins just, they have no experience, and they do. They're getting through out of luck. They literally have to face two teams that are not good with hitting. Now they will, and it's going to be a struggle. Baltimore Orioles, it has been 40 years since they won a World Series, and I'm assuming they will do it this year. Crazy. I can't believe I'm saying that. So if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts, and as always, we will see you next time.